Welcome. This is Mentor Mike, and today we're talking about how to get an Apush. So I'm assuming you've already watched all the other YouTube videos. I go over the exam, read over the syllabus and all that. That's not difficult. What we're doing here is going over the tips that helped me get a 5 and an A, and hopefully they're going to help you too. So first, for the people who really want to know American history really well, here's something I recommend. It's not easy to do, but it does actually help you understand the content. In the summer, before you take the course, you need to read or listen to a book that goes through all of American history. Right, personally, I listen to Paul Johnson's A History of the American People. The only problem with the strategy is that book is long. We're talking like 40 hours long. So if you want to have a life or anything of that sort, maybe not the best idea. However, it does actually help you understand what your teacher is saying, because I know a lot of people had no historical knowledge come into this class, and they would sit and listen to the teacher give lectures and not understand a single thing. However, this is not required. It is just a good idea if you're trying to actually get a deeper understanding. However, even if you're not, don't worry, this is not a difficult class. We can get through it. So when you're in class, if it was anything like my class, your teacher is going to stand up in front and give notes and lecture, and you're going to want to fall asleep, but you can't do that. You need to take a notebook and write down everything she says and everything that's on the board. Now, I know there's strategies that, you only need to write down some of the stuff or whatnot. And of course, if she emphasizes something, write that down. And if it appears that something's not important, you can ignore that. However, in general, you want more notes rather than less notes. And just the process of writing stuff down makes you remember it better. That's something I've noticed in every class. If I just sit there, I won't understand the concepts as well as if I just wrote down word for word. You don't even have to think about it. Just copy it down. The thinking's later. That's called studying. Now just write it down. Okay, there's some resources that, let's say, your notes aren't good enough. Okay? First resource, Princeton Review. It's a great book. Personally, I liked it. Not everyone likes it, but I think it was really good. And it really goes through not very in-depth, but it does cover basically the whole material for the course. So if your exam's tomorrow, you might just want to read this. Hopefully, you're not watching this the day before the exam, though. And if you are, maybe the other resource here, which is Heimler's History, will help you better. Because this man has created the best videos for this course that exist anywhere on the internet. So now we're going to learn how to study to actually get the A. So you have your notes, which I'm assuming you took, because if not, you're going to have a problem. You could probably still get away with doing it with the Princeton Review, though. You're going to take every page of your notes. You're going to read it. All right? Then you're going to put your notebook away and pretend you are teaching the material to somebody else. So for example, here I just opened up a random page. We have the Sugar Act of 1764, the Quartering Act, and the Stamp Act. So first, I'd read it over. All right? And then, while it's still in my short-term memory, I'll look away and I will start explaining everything that I've learned out loud. So for example, here I could say that, okay, the Sugar Act in 1764, well, that was a tax on sugar, and it rigged the legal system, which was even worse. And then the next year, if that wasn't enough, there was the quartering act, which meant you just had to have a soldier sleep over in your house, and so forth. You would do that for every single page of notes. When you're doing this, close the door of your room, because it looks very weird for people who don't know what you're doing. Okay? So, in case anyone comes in and is like, why are you talking to yourself? Just say, I watched a YouTube video, this is how I study. Alright? And once you're doing this, for all your notes, you should have a good memory of all the events you've learned and of all the vocab terms you've learned. So, once you're done, you will find a practice test. When I took this class, my teacher gave us practice tests, so I just did that one. If you don't have one from your teacher, you're just going to need to find a practice test covering the unit you're doing. So if it was Unit 1, you just Google Unit 1 Apush practice test, and you would take that just to see how well you're going to do. And hopefully, you're going to do fine. But if not, you just look at the questions you got wrong and say, oh, well, maybe I forgot to learn about the township duties, right? And well, then you'll just learn about those, reread them, like try to pretend and explain it to someone else, and that should, hopefully, make you understand the material. It worked for me. Hopefully, it's going to work for you. I know. So when you're actually doing this memory technique, there's several strategies to actually make you remember this stuff much better. So you're trying to create connections in your mind between different concepts, different facts, different historical events. Alright, some of these are like legitimate connections that you can write your essay about or something. Some of these, just memory tricks. For example, the Sugar Act and the Quartering Act, right? The Sugar Act was a year before the Quartering Act. So if you want to remember that better, how about you say this? The Quartering Act brought the soldiers into the colonists' homes so the soldiers can actually see how much sugar they're using. That's stupid, but it can help you remember. And what matters on this test is whether you remember the material. And I think it's a good strategy. Now, you can do this for basically any two historical events, and usually when they're right after one another, or if it's like one person and then there's another person and you have to like compare and contrast them, yeah, just find like the funniest comparisons you can make. Of course, you don't have to share your memory tricks with others, but it's whatever will be the most shocking, the weirdest connection that'll just stick in your brain, and it'll go on these weird pathways inside your mind that are actually going to help you recall this information when it's on the test. So, finally, we come to writing the LEQ and the DBQ, the essays. Alright, so for this one, it's not actually that difficult, but you just have to learn the style. So hopefully you're going to have a couple opportunities to actually write these essays in class and have your teacher grade them. Hopefully not for an actual grade at first, but even if, well, that just is how it is. We'll go on Heimler's history. He has an explanation of how to do a LEQ and DBQ, and especially make sure you get the thesis down. The thesis is not difficult, but if you don't know how to write it, you are going to struggle. And also for the final point, that's always the complexity point. It's the hardest to get, but I found it's actually pretty easy as long as you compare something that you're writing about to another time period. Now this is actually way better once you're later in the course and you actually have historical knowledge. But for example, if there's like something about colonialism in 1920, you can compare it to, let's say, the American expansion out west in the 1850s, right? And that'll get you the complexity point, no problem. Now, finally, when the time for the exam comes, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go over your notes, this time for the whole year. It's gonna take a while, but that's too bad. And the way I said, you have to read it, you have to say it out loud in your own words. And then, in this book, there are 6 practice tests. You take one, you grade it. If you got a 5, you're done. If not, you look at the questions you got wrong, review those concepts and those time periods, and then take another practice test. Rinse and repeat until you're getting a 5 on the albert.io grade calculator. And I think that's it. It's not an easy course by any means, but I don't think it should be too difficult if you put your mind to it. Just remember to take notes in class, because that will save you a lot of time later on. So the most important thing from this whole video was the method of studying. As I said, read, put away your notebook, and pretend you're teaching someone the material. If there's one thing you remember, let it be that. Now, other than that, you should be doing absolutely fine in this course. Below, I'll link all the resources that I mentioned, Heimler's History, this Princeton Review book, and good luck. I'll be posting more videos like this, so subscribe for more.